So this month, actually, I've been at LPI for 15 years, and this is the one program that's been consistent in that entire time, which is actually pretty amazing considering the changes within the way that S&D approaches what I'll generically call education and public outreach during that time. So as such, I am particularly grateful to Survey Central and to David Kring, both who just support the program enormously, very flexible when it needs to be. And considering the week after I started at LPI, in addition to facilitating a teacher workshop for the first time ever, which they threw me in, without a life preserver, they said, oh, by the way, we have this program now under NLSI, but you need to create the whole thing from scratch. Good luck. So thank you to Survey Central and David for their continued support of this. And actually to David for really just letting me do it and taking some lumps along the way and just learning from the process of it. And we like to think we have a very successful program. Thank you also to our advisors and folks who have judged student presentations over the years, some who have done both. And of course, students and teachers. So I'm going to show you some data that'll support why we believe this program has been a success. If you really want to know, talk to the students. 2 of them are here this week. They'll be presenting their poster this evening. You can also talk to the advisors. There's a few of them around. Parvati. All right, so exploration of the moon and asteroids by secondary students, or ExMASS, has been around in basically one of 2 forms since 2010. It was first funded under a NASA Lunar Science Institute, and then since Survey, past few rounds. Students across the country participate. You see some of our numbers there. It started off as lunar projects, but then when Survey became Survey, we expanded to asteroids, but they all still fit within the Survey scope. The whole idea is for students to really take the lead on what they're doing. We pair them with an advisor to help them, and their teachers, of course, to help them along, as they're the ones who are local to them. But we really want the students to take charge as they can, right? They do need the help. So over 12 years, you can see where students have been, or schools across the country, where advisors have been across the country, even internationally. So why? Well, there's for years, there's just been national calls for more authentic experiences for high school, students at all levels. So getting beyond, getting a lecture in class or reading your textbook at night and then doing some lab where you're expected to get a particular outcome. So this has been going on for years, not recently, but as in 2013, the Next Generation Science Standards explicitly called this out. We know from research that participation in authentic, and you can define authentic in different ways. I'll tell you how we define it. Positively impacts students, their attitudes towards science, their understanding of science, science content. And we'll focus on really here is increasing positive attitudes towards science impacts their STEM career interests. We define authentic, which is the way these folks defined it, is where students undertake the same processes as scientists. Maybe not all of them, maybe just some of them, but they go through similar processes. Inquiry-based means they're doing something they're interested in doing, and also using their knowledge that they have or that they gain through the experience. So we want to provide an opportunity for students to engage in multiple practices of science, foster positive student attitudes towards science and science careers, and enhance lunar and asteroid science content knowledge. All right, so how did we do? We created a survey using the Next Generation Science Standards, the indicators of what processes of science are, using their language. And at the end of the program each year, we ask students to take that survey and just check, what did you do? What do you think you did? As many as 93% say they generated graphs, charts, or tables to communicate. That 41%, that's the lowest percentage of students who selected a particular standard or practice, but across the board, students are selecting multiples. So good, we did that. That's actually kind of low-hanging fruit, but we did that. This is a bigger deal. We have a survey that we actually that we give them at the end of the year, and they take each item and think about it in the present, and then think about how they thought about that in the past before they did it, in terms of their attitudes towards science. And we find that this program, there are statistically significant gains in positive attitudes towards science as a result of participating in this program. If you want to read more about the particular survey and the validity and reliability statistics behind it, you can see that paper there. We also published another paper a couple of years ago with updated information on this survey, but statistically significant. So those of you who know educational psych statistics, there you go. And we do see from our pre and post surveys with their knowledge, they are gaining knowledge in it, of course, right? I mean, they're learning about it. At the very beginning, we do a very specific activity where they are learning content that will help them in their research. So the question is, if it's inquiry-based, how much are they really doing stuff on their own? And that's a difficult question to ask and to answer, and something we were interested in, but just didn't have resources to really fully look into that. But we started off with just a survey question for teachers, advisors, and students, where we asked them, on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 students being most responsible, how responsible how much ownership did they take in various stages of their research? And in general, we see that over 60% of students, advisors, and teachers say that students a 4 or a 5. That they took a lot of ownership in what they did and kind of drove their study. It's not great, it's a glimpse. There's a lot more that could be done with this in the future if we had resources. So yeah, we met our goals. We did what we wanted to do. I built a program around what the research literature told us at the time about these types of programs and what they can do. I followed that, and look at that, it works. Crazy. These are our advisors. What I don't have up here are folks who have been judges also, but there's also been some overlapping in that. So Alexandra, for example, was a judge for us this past year. So big thank you to you all. If your name's not up here, I'd like to know why, but that's okay. Just some students, some of their accomplishments. Every year in LSI and survey, we've had teams present. We fund one team to come. Others have their posters here, or they present virtually. We'll have 2 presenting virtually this evening. We had a paper published in Icarus about a decade ago, and that really was because the advisor chose to continue working with that team after the fact and got a paper ready to publish, and it was. So that was really great. Student that was at the meeting in 2017, the forum, as a freshman, she was first author on a paper that was in AppJ. And that's a quote from her about her ExMASS experience, helping her with that. Basically being able to take something you've never done and work with software you've never done and be able to do a study with it. Just some more quotes. Recognizing that students not only increase their attitudes towards science careers and maybe are more likely to go into science, but just that they have a positive attitude towards science in general. Even if they're not wanting to go into STEM, the fact that they're interested in it and they see its value is also important. I think we've seen that over the past few years, 4 or 5 years, that we need more of that, people to understand and see the value in science. So it's also doing that. Similar quotes, we'll go through those. Just want to end, this is a map showing all the locations, not all of them because there's a lot of overlap really, but locations on the moon where students have studied over the past 15 years. Thank you.